Good evening and welcome to our special segment tonight. Tonight we delve into a critical issue facing college campuses across America, free speech. Throughout the years, college campuses nationwide have been the stage for passionate protests, each one a reflection of students exercising their right to free speech. From coast to coast, students have raised their voices on a multitude of issues, from climate change to racial injustice to international solidarity. Recently, our school community faced a significant event that impacted students both emotionally and academically. Over the past year, our campus and many other universities across America have been the backdrop for passionate protests and demonstrations where students courageously voiced their beliefs and fought for change on the Palestinian-Israeli conflict. On May 2nd, SUNY Purchase began their encampment in solidarity with Palestine and other universities across the country. However, what began as a peaceful expression of free speech took a troubling turn. As the protest unfolded, the administration's response raised questions about the limits of free speech on campus. Students and professors were met with harsh repercussions, facing suspension and even arrest during their encampment. Many students found themselves grappling with heightened anxiety and stress as they tried to adjust to this new reality in violation of their trust and safety between the student body, UPD, and administration. Why this was a reaction now, and what does it say about our institution's commitment to allowing diverse voices to be heard? Across the country, similar encampments have been met with the same heavy-handed tactics, raising concerns about the state of free speech on college campuses. As we watch these videos together, let's reflect on the courage and resilience of our student community who continue to stand up for what they believe in despite facing adversity. Now, let's hear directly from two students who are on the front lines of these events as they share their personal experiences. Well, welcome you two. If you just want to do a brief introduction of who you guys are and what your involvement was.
My name is Bernardo Manzolillo. I'm the Students General Programming Coordinator, and through that weekend I was just, coordinating the space of the Stud and how we were serving the community at that time.
Yeah, I'm Senna. I'm an RTC member and a student protester. I joined the encampment on Thursday. I slept overnight as long as the encampment was up. And I've been involved in further negotiations after that. I wasn't in any of the meetings with it, but I've been associated with it, and I believe very firmly in the cause.
So, Senna, you've been an RTC member. Have the protests all year? Have you been involved in other protests on campus? If so, what other protests have there been on campus?
So I've been involved in protests that happened earlier on this year. There was a rally at the clock tower. There was a student walkout, both of which I was involved in. And I've been involved in other protests not on campus, specifically in the city. I've been to several protest marches and things like that. So I really didn't get fully involved with RTC until Thursday when I was arrested. And I realized the importance that, what I could contribute and how much it mattered to be a member. So that's when I really became cemented.
So we mentioned May 2nd. I'm assuming that both of you are aware of what happened. You were arrested. Can you two share your experiences with that day and just the overall emotion and physicality and just everything that happened that night?
I was at home. It was my roommate's birthday celebration. We were making sushi, and I'm just on my phone. I had heard of the encampment earlier that day, and actually, me and my friends were discussing whether or not we thought what was gonna come out of it. And we were like, well, I guess we'll see. We thought it was the end of the year, so we I don't know. We were just kind of wondering what was gonna happen, and then later that day, when I'm at this birthday celebration, I open my phone and I'm let me check in. I think at that point, RTC was live and the Cinema Roll Journal was live, and I was I guess let me check in with what's happening. And I tune in right in the moment when the cops are really coming at people, and we just kind of watched in horror. We all gathered around my phone to watch what was happening. And I think the last thing we saw a professor get arrested, and then we saw the person who was doing the live getting arrested. And it was terrible. It was very disturbing to experience that, especially through a social media medium. And then when the live ended, because the student was arrested, there was just this feeling of what happens now? And because we weren't there, we didn't know if we could go there. And then we started hearing the helicopters and see there were drones. It was just something hit us so suddenly. It was disturbing. I feel like throwing up, honestly. The more I watched the videos that night, the more I just felt like uneasy and unsafe.
Yeah, I mean, I was at the encampment when it started, and I went and I contributed a lot of my own supplies to it, and it was entirely peaceful. The attitude in the air was sort of tense because we didn't know how it would be received, but there was also an air of community, and it was like we're finally coming together over something that we've all been thinking about and upset about for months, and now we're coming together and making a collective statement about it. And it was entirely peaceful, entirely in line with the student code of conduct. That, we were making signs that said like "Jews against genocide," things like that. And then at exactly like 10:05, we saw the police lining up, police from 6 different precincts, state troopers. They were in riot gear, and we were at that point sitting peacefully in a circle while the helicopter was circling around trying to blind us with floodlights. And I had a moment of understanding, like, okay, I see. My free speech is about to be repressed right now. I need to get ready. I was one of the first people arrested because they approached from that side of the circle, and I was put on the ground, zip-tied, thrown into a van, taken to a precinct, and processed. As soon as I got out, which was pretty early in the morning, around like 2:30 in the morning, I found my way back to the quad and stayed the night. So that was my Thursday.
Yeah. So despite the events of the second, the students obviously didn't give up. You guys came back the next day and set up encampment once again. And I know the STUD had a huge part of aiding the campus and aiding the encampment. So Bernie, since you are one of the student coordinators, would you like to talk a little bit about what you guys did at the STUD specifically?
Yeah. Well, Friday, we all woke up. We all knew what happened the night before, and everyone, all the clubs, all the services that were part of the PSJ were kind of communicating to understand how can we best support our community right now, especially because we had canceled our events, like everything was kind of up in the air, but the STUD still had people coming into work. We were still open. It was within our regular hours, and we thought it would be a good idea to, use the space that is for the students as a safe space. That's what the student body needed in that moment. We're there to serve them, so it made sense that we provided some sort of comfort. So our idea was, we were pretty close to where the encampment was, because it's a short walk from the quad, and we thought, let's have water, let's have a safe, warm, and then welcoming space. If people just need to take a break, come in to warm up, use the bathroom if they need to charge their phone, just so people don't have to fully go back home to do that kind of thing, and just be closer to the encampment if they chose to stay overnight, and just to kind of be there in case anything like Thursday happened again. We wanted to be there to support people. People were talking about, the possibility of getting May, so we were like, let's have buckets of water ready to go. Like, it was really a safety net in case anything happened. It was where we were gathering a lot of supplies, water, snacks, and overall, it was just a place for people that wanted to participate but couldn't safely participate in the protests, go to. Like, we had volunteers there, everything. It was, like, I'm an international student. I can't directly get involved. I can't risk getting arrested. But that was a way for people that couldn't afford the arrest, whatever, to still support their peers. So that was kind of how the STUD was operating. It was really for aid and for any sort of needs that the students may have during that time.
I really appreciated that we had the student space. As a protester, a lot of people were staying in the cold and in the rain, and especially after the brutality that people faced on Thursday, that was exactly what we needed, which was a space where people could go and decompress. People were having panic attacks. Like, it was bad. On Thursday, I watched my peers get beaten on the ground with batons. I watched my friend Lily get 4 different police officers throw her to the ground so hard that she threw up in her own mask as she was being lifted zip-tied. It was absolutely awful. Videos of students' heads cracking on concrete. It was really, really gruesome. And so we greatly appreciated the fact that there was a student space set aside. And that's why it made it all the more frustrating when that was shut down.
Mm-hmm. So you mentioned that the STU did get shut down. So the administration definitely made some controversial decisions, like shutting down the STU, and then getting on Sunday morning, they had cops go in at 9 o'clock in the morning to shut down the encampment. They then set up the free speech zone. As student leaders, how does this make you feel? Like, how does your free speech being suppressed and your space being taken away?
It's such, it's weird. I remember waking up Sunday. It was it was the first night that I fully got to sleep, because Friday night Friday night I had slept in the STU because I didn't want to be too far away from the encampment in case anything happened. Saturday I went to bed at like 4 and woke up at 9. Sunday was the full night of sleep that I got, and when I woke up, I checked my Instagram, and the encampment had just been taken down. And the STU was shut down, there was like a feeling of like emptiness, that there was something missing. And the more information we got, the free speech and all of that, it just felt like that space was growing, and it, like, to me, campus just felt like a black hole sucking everything in, all the energy. It was scary. I felt scared. I felt paranoid, because it felt like any sort of move could put me in a weird position, and again, especially as an international student, I was like, so me speaking up could cause me to get in trouble with the school, which could, for me, become such a bigger thing. And that was weird, It was really dystopian almost to feel like my basic rights were kind of also putting me in danger in a way, especially at an institution that promotes themselves as like this liberal space, this, this place where you can come to be whoever you are. But in that moment, no one could really be who they were, because they were being limited, they were being shut down, and they were being beaten up, they were being brutalized. And it was weird. It was a really weird feeling.
I mean, yeah, because I'd been at the protests, I'd been hiding my face as well, to avoid identification. And so I was like, okay, I've taken away, like, any identifying features about myself, and now they're silencing my voice as well. When I woke up on Sunday morning, I woke up to a police officer dragging the blankets off of me because they were tearing down our barricades. And they were destroying our encampment. And that moment was like such a moment of terror for me, because I still had not processed getting arrested on Thursday with the brutality that was unleashed on students, and then having that again happen Sunday morning. Like, I wasn't brutalized on Sunday morning or anything, but having a police officer stand over me, like, armed with a gun and mace, I was just like, oh my God, like, I am seriously under threat at this campus. And I've realized in the following days, after Sunday, and like grabbing all of my belongings, running them upstairs and back, trying to save as much as I could before UPD took it away, I've realized there is no way that I will feel safe on this campus ever again unless UPD is gone and Milagros Peña is removed as president. There is no way I will ever be able to walk around and feel like I am heard and I am safe. Even now that the encampment is down and that negotiations have happened, I still walk around, and if I see a police officer, it quickens my heartbeat. Like, I have lasting trauma from this, and I will never forgive this campus for that.
Yeah. So you mentioned that there were negotiations, and May 6th was a pretty big day last Monday, with protests happening right outside the clock tower, right outside where Millie's office is, and then the negotiations happening within the office, and then the feeling at the end of the day of hearing that some of the negotiations had been agreed upon. If you two were present, how did that, at the end of that day, seeing all the people that were there to protest with you guys, and then also the end, that feeling, how did you feel at the end knowing that there were some things that were agreed upon?
It was an amazing feeling. It was like I was crying, like I could not really keep it together. And I had been, so for most of the day when people were rallying outside the clock tower, I had been stationed in a undisclosed room with supplies ready to set up an encampment again if negotiations were let done. So there were two teams. There was one who was prepared to set up despite any police brutality, and then one who was leading the rally. And so when we got confirmation that negotiations were going through, that there wouldn't be a need to set up an encampment that night, we immediately ran over to the rally. The energy was just like, it was tangible, it was in the air, you could cut it with scissors. I had not felt any sort of community like that on this campus until then. And when the news of negotiations was announced by Desiree and Sabrina and Imani, it was incredible. There's still a lot of work to be done, but to know that, we've gotten our foot in the door, at least, it's a great feeling. So.
Yeah, I was at home finishing an online test, and I just hear really loud cheering, and I'm like, what happened? And I opened the Instagram Live, and it was really beautiful to experience that, especially, like I said, for me, it began through an Instagram Live of seeing people get brutalized, and then it kind of came full circle when I'm on an Instagram Live watching people celebrating and jumping, and like I said, the energy was physical, and I just ran out of my door, ran to the clock tower, and I would just see people and hug them and say congratulations, and they were saying it back. It felt like an accomplishment that we made as a collective. And beyond just what we accomplished that day, I feel like we got back something that we're going to need for years to come, which is a strong community that organizes despite what the issue is. I feel like that's what the best thing that we gained out of this whole situation was that I could, see people that I see every day in classes and everything, and actually establish a connection with them through our experience after that brutality. And I think to feel from my other peers that they care for my freedom of speech and I care for theirs, it's really a bonding moment. And it was just so nice to be there, everyone together. It felt like a party.
Yeah, I mean, whatever issues I may have had with some individuals on this campus before that, it's gone now. We are all united in hating the free speech zone and recognizing how absolutely ridiculous that is. So, yeah.
Well, thank you two for joining me today. It was really great getting to hear your experiences with everything, and let's just hope that moving forward that there's actually some change that gets to happen, and we will never see this again on our campus. We will never see this brutality ever happen again.
Yeah.
So, yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. I'm Lauren Hagen with Purchase Broadcast Studios.
Free Palestine.
Free Palestine.
Free Palestine.